They burned his village, slaughtered his people, and left only one survivor in the ashes. Now one silent scout rides alone toward the deadliest French fort on the frontier. Not for gold, not for glory, but for revenge. But inside those walls, he will uncover a truth so shocking, it could destroy everything he believed. Stay until the end, because the final choice he makes will echo across the whole frontier forever. The wind carried the smell of smoke for 3 days. When Elias Crow returned to the valley of his people, he found only ruin. The homes were black skeletons of wood. The earth was stained dark where blood had dried beneath the sun. Broken arrows, shattered bowls, and tiny footprints frozen in the mud told the story no man wished to hear. Women had run. Children had hidden. None had escaped. Elias dropped to his knees in the ashes. He had been away as a scout, tracking strangers seen near the northern ridge. By the time he returned, silence had already buried everyone he loved. His mother's necklace lay half-burned beside the fire pit. His younger brother's carved flute was crushed beneath a boot print. He did not cry. The pain was too deep for tears. Instead, he studied the ground. Elias had been taught since childhood that the earth remembers every step. He traced the prints carefully: heavy boots, wagon wheels, horseshoes stamped with iron marks. French soldiers, traitors, and hired killers. They had come from Fort St. Laurent, a stone fortress built near the river bend where French flags snapped in the wind. The tribes feared that place. Settlers avoided it. Men whispered that no one entered without paying in blood. Elias rose slowly. That night he buried what he could find of his people. One grave for many souls. He stood beside it until dawn, then painted a black line across his face. It was the mark of the last son. He took only what he needed: a rifle, a knife, a bow, and the necklace of his mother. Then he headed north toward the fort. The journey took 6 days through forests thick with wolves and silence. Along the way, Elias saw signs of the frontier's cruelty. Burned farms. Abandoned wagons. Families starving beside cold fires. Everywhere powerful men fought for land while the innocent were crushed beneath them. On the 7th night, he found a wounded trapper leaning against a tree. The man was old, bleeding badly from his shoulder. "Water," he whispered. Elias almost walked past. Mercy had died in his valley. But something in the old man's eyes stopped him. He gave him water. The trapper coughed, and managed a weak smile. "Fort St. Laurent did this. They kill their own now." "Who leads them?" Elias asked. "Captain Moreau," the man said. "Cruel devil. But there's another, a priest named Father Lucien. He tries to help prisoners. Says Moreau hides secrets in the cellar." "What secrets?" The trapper's eyes darkened. "Your people weren't the target, boy. They were witnesses." Before Elias could ask more, the old man died. That night, Elias stared into the fire. If his people were murdered for seeing something, then revenge was only the beginning. At sunrise he climbed the final ridge and saw Fort St. Laurent below. Tall stone walls. Guard towers. Cannons pointed toward the forest. Smoke rose from chimneys like the breath of a monster. Elias checked his rifle, tightened his knife belt, and whispered to the wind, "I come for the truth." Then he descended toward the gates. Elias entered the fort disguised as a fur trader. Mud covered his face. A bundle of pelts hid his weapons. He lowered his eyes and walked with the tired shuffle of a man broken by years of labor. Guards laughed as they searched him poorly and waved him through. Inside the walls, misery lived openly. Prisoners hauled stones under whips. Women cooked in silence. Men with hollow eyes drank away fear in the yard. French officers dined on silver plates while children begged near the stables. Elias moved like a shadow. By nightfall, he found Father Lucien tending a sick prisoner in a small chapel. "You are not a traitor," the priest said without turning. "And you are not blind," Elias replied. Lucien looked at the black line painted beneath Elias's collar. His face fell. "Your village. You know of it. I know enough to hate myself." The priest led him beneath the chapel into narrow tunnels lit by candles. There, chained behind iron bars, were 3 survivors from Elias's tribe, an old woman, a hunter, and a young girl no older than 10. Elias froze. The girl looked up. "You came back." It was Mara, his brother's daughter. For the first time since the massacre, Elias nearly broke. He opened the cells while Father Lucien spoke quickly. "Captain Moreau discovered silver in your valley. Rich veins beneath the hills. He ordered your people removed. When they refused, he made an example of them." Rage burned through Elias like fire. "Then he dies tonight." But Lucien grabbed his arm. "If you kill only him, another monster will take his place. The records upstairs prove everything, names, bribes, orders from powerful men. Expose them, and the whole chain falls." Elias hated that wisdom could delay vengeance. Still, he nodded. They moved through the tunnels toward the command house. Above them, thunder rolled. Rain hammered the fort roofs. Guards rushed for cover as the storm swallowed the night. Inside Moreau's office, Elias found ledgers stamped with royal seals. Payments for stolen land. Lists of tribes marked for removal. Names of settlers framed for crimes they never committed. Then a slow clap echoed behind him. Captain Moreau stood in the doorway, pistol drawn. "You should have died with the others," Moreau said. Elias stepped forward. "You murdered children." "I built order," Moreau sneered. "This land belongs to whoever has strength to take it." He fired. The bullet grazed Elias's shoulder. Elias lunged, slamming Moreau through a table. They crashed into shelves, fists and knives flashing in candlelight. Moreau was larger, brutal and trained. Elias was faster, driven by ghosts. Moreau grabbed a saber and swung wildly. Elias ducked, seized the man's wrist, and drove him into the window. Glass shattered. Rain poured inside. Below, soldiers gathered in confusion. Moreau laughed through blood. "Kill me, and nothing changes." Elias looked at the ledgers in his hand, then at the courtyard below. He made his choice. Instead of striking, he dragged Moreau to the broken window and hurled the records into the storming crowd. Pages scattered like white birds. Soldiers, workers, prisoners, all reached for them. Names. Orders. Proof. "What have you done?" Moreau screamed. "The truth," Elias said. Then he struck once. Moreau fell backward through the shattered frame into the mud below. Chaos erupted. Prisoners rose against guards. Officers turned on each other. Fires spread. Gates were broken open from within. Elias led Mara and the survivors out through the rain as Fort St. Laurent tore itself apart behind them. At dawn, they stood on a ridge overlooking the smoking ruins. Mara slipped her small hand into his. "Is it over?" she asked. Elias looked east, where sunlight touched the valley of his people. "No," he said softly. "Now we begin again." He returned home not as an avenger, but as the last scout who chose to build where others chose to burn. And in time, from ashes came a new village stronger than the old, because justice can destroy evil, but hope is what rebuilds the world. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.